Merry Daily Nights, it's Mrs. Regan. I have a great book for you today. It's called A Fine, Fine School. Maybe you've heard of it, kind of like Mary Daly. The author is Sharon Creech, and the illustrator is Henry Bliss. Enjoy! While you're reading the book, make sure you stop every now and then and pause and take the time to look at the pages. There are lots of interesting things to see on all the pages. This is called the title page. Of course, you find the title, the name of the author, who is the person who wrote the story, the name of the illustrator, who is the person who drew the pictures, and the name of the publishing company, who is the company who actually made the book so you can read it. This is called the dedication page. This is where the author, whose initials are SC, dedicates the book to a very important person, and the illustrator, whose initials are HB, dedicates the book to someone he thinks, or some people he thinks are very important. Mr. Keene was a principal who loved his school. Every morning he strolled down the hallway and saw the children in their classes. He saw them learning shapes and colors and numbers and letters. He saw them reading and writing and drawing and painting. He saw them making dinosaurs and forts and pyramids. "Oh," he would say, "aren't these fine children? Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school?" Near Mr. Keene's school, Tilly lived with her parents and her brother and her dog Beans in a small house next to a big tree. On Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. At school, Tilly learned her shapes and colors and numbers and letters. Sometimes, when she saw Mr. Keene standing in the hallway, he waved. "Aren't these fine, fine children?" he said to himself. "Aren't these fine, fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school?" On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, Tilly climbed her favorite tree, and she took Beans on walks and threw him sticks. And she pushed her brother on a swing and tried to teach him how to skip. But on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. Beans and her brother did not like to see her go. "Hurry, hurry, hurry home," her brother called. One day Mr. Keene called all the students and teachers together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Saturdays too." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, that Saturday, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Saturday. What about the swings?" her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene announced, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Sundays too." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Sundays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, that Sunday, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Sunday. What about the skipping?" her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene called everyone together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on holidays too, on Easter and Ramadan and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah, on all the holidays on every calendar." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on holidays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, On Christmas, Tilly set off for school. But it's Christmas. What about Christmas? Her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene called everyone together and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school in the summer too, and all summer long, every single day."
"How much we will learn," he said. "We can learn everything. We will learn all about numbers and letters, colors and shapes, the Romans and the Egyptians and the Greeks. We will learn about dinosaurs and castles and everything. We will learn everything." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays and all summer long, every single day. But no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, on the first day of summer, Tilly set off for school. "But it's summer! What about summer?" her brother called. And that day, Tilly went to see Mr. Keene. She stood in his office in front of his desk. "What a fine, fine school this is," Mr. Keene said. "What amazing things everyone is learning." "Yes," said Tilly, "we are certainly learning some amazing things." "A fine, fine school," Mr. Keene said. "But," Tilly said, "not everyone is learning." "What?" Mr. Keene said. He looked very worried. Who isn't learning? Tell me, and I will see that they learn." "My dog Beans hasn't learned how to sit," Tilly said. "And he hasn't learned how to jump over the creek." "Oh," Mr. Keene said. "And my little brother hasn't learned how to swing or skip." "Oh," Mr. Keene said. "And she said. "But you go to school," Mr. Keene said, "to our fine, fine school." "True," Tilly said, "but I haven't learned how to climb very high in my tree. And I haven't learned how to sit in my tree for a whole hour." "Oh," Mr. Keene said. That day, Mr. Keene walked up and down the halls, looking at the children and the teachers. Up and down he walked. Up and down, up and down. The next morning, Mr. Keene called everyone together. The children and the teachers were very worried. Mr. Keene said, "This is a fine, fine school with fine, fine children and fine, fine teachers. But not everyone is learning." The children and the teachers were very, very worried. Mr. Keene said, "There are dogs who need to learn how to sit and how to jump creeks." What did he mean? Was he going to make their dogs come to school? "There are little brothers and sisters who need to learn how to swing and how to skip." What did he mean? Was he going to make their younger brothers and sisters come to school too? The children and the teachers were very, very, very worried. "And all of you, children and teachers, you need to learn how to climb a tree and sit in it for an hour," Mr. Keene said. The children and the teachers were very worried. "And so from now on, we will not have school on Saturdays or Sundays or holidays or in the summer." A huge, enormous, roaring cheer soared up to the ceiling and floated out the windows so that everyone in the town heard the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers shout, "Fine, fine, fine!" And the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers lifted Mr. Keene up, and they carried him down the hallway and out the doors and through the town, up and down, in and out. And everywhere they went, the people said, "What a fine, fine school with such fine, fine teachers and fine, fine children and a fine, fine principal." I hope you enjoyed a fine, fine school. Mary Daly is a fine, fine school, and we miss our fine, fine students very much. We'll see you soon. Don't forget to do your e-learning. We miss you.